Assemblymember Bloom. And that's item number 5, AB 189.
Good morning, Mr. Chair.
Good morning,
and
sir.
Members. It's good to be here. I have a meeting with the pro temp.
Well, we'll get you right out of here. At the appropriate time, Mr. Glazer is moving the bill.
Mr. Chair and members, theater, music, painting, poetry, sculpture, the creative arts are flourishing here in California. And AB 189 authorizes the California Arts Council to establish an official state-designated cultural district program for California that will burnish our reputation for the arts and help foster economic development around it. The creative economy is a dynamic force in the California economy, and it generates over 7% of the state's economic activity and supports 1.4 million jobs. Studies have shown that creative entities and businesses tend to cluster into certain areas, and these clusters are often well-off parts of cities and towns and are found throughout the state. AB 189 will allow the California Arts Council to designate these kinds of areas as official California cultural districts. Establishing state-designated cultural districts will help draw more attention, more tourism, and commerce to these creative clusters. The Arts Council will establish a competitive application system for certification of the districts, and once certified, will provide technical and promotional support, as well as collaborate with public agencies and private entities to maximize the benefits to state-designated districts. It is the intent of this bill that areas, including those that might not be currently recognized nationally or even statewide, as artistic communities will come together, organize, and become arts districts. State designation will nurture local creative economies and benefit communities. This program will attract tourism and economic development to all communities, but it should be of particular benefit to smaller communities. Towns like Ojai, Santa Rosa, Fort Bragg, Mendocino, Hanford, Eureka, Fresno are just a few that might succeed in the application process for this type of district. This measure has enjoyed bipartisan support, received 77 votes on the floor of the Assembly, and I urge your aye vote. I have with me today Kristen Margolis from the California Arts Council to answer any questions you might have.
Very good. Thank you, Assembly Member. Any witnesses in support?
Yeah, Jason Schmelzer here on behalf of California Arts Advocates and the City and County of San Francisco and Mayor Ed Lee. Strong support.
Very good. Thank you. Any other witnesses in support? Any witnesses in opposition? I'm quite sure there are none. The bill has been properly moved. Yes, Mr. Gaines.
If I could, just clarification, Assembly Member Bloom, you mentioned that there would be benefit for smaller communities, and I was wondering if maybe you could expand on that a little bit in terms of the benefits.
Well, any community or group of communities will be able to apply for this designation. The Arts Council will set criteria for the application process, but I think this will be of particular benefit to smaller communities throughout California who can either apply individually or collectively with cities and communities around them.
Okay, I've got a very rural district, at least parts of it are, so I'm just curious.
Yeah, this is intended to be a very flexible tool for communities, and there's no reason why even on a large-scale basis in any region of the state that communities would not be able to apply.
Wonderful.
If I may add.
Yes.
If I may add, Senator, your district and Placer County is certainly one that we see as being very interested in something like this. Downtown organizations and associations we see, certainly like Main Street Alliances, will be interested in this type of thing. We also see rural areas with farm to fork and agricultural boom being very interested in benefiting from this. So the branding that will happen in big cities will end up really benefiting these smaller rural areas and driving cultural tourism there.
That's great. Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. Yes, Senator Runner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I too am concerned about rural communities. Is there a way that the actual board setup and the designation could give some advantage to those rural communities who don't have the ability or the staff to maybe apply for this, but gives them extra points if they apply for this dollar amount to do some art in their area? I was just wondering if that was part of the equation to actually get the art, places that don't have it in California, rather than keep providing dollars for San Francisco and LA that have a lot of art community there that already benefits from that. But those rural communities that, again, I represent and many others.
Absolutely. I think that's a good question. I mean, the Arts Council is already instructed in our enabling legislation to reach out to every area. And as you know, we're so geographically diverse in California. And so reaching out to these rural areas is certainly a priority for us. The purpose of this bill is to be able to provide that type of technical assistance to these areas. And we have already heard from many of these downtown districts looking for this program. We had a member of our staff down in Hanford, California, for example, and there are organizations such as the Valley Cultural Coalition that are very interested in this because they see this as just an economic development tool for them. And so that will be a huge focus of what this program will establish. And our guidelines will absolutely address that.
Thank you for the question, Senator.
Thank you. Any other comments, concerns? Mr. Lara, you have a concern or comment?
Ready to move this bill?
Oh, yes, the bill is going to be moved by Senator Lara. Yes, go right ahead.
I just wanted to thank the author. My grandfather started the Stockton Arts Commission in 1939, and it's flourished for 76 years now, and there are many local community art commissions that will be very appreciative of the bill, so I thank you for it.
Excellent. Thank you.
All right. Would you like to close, sir?
Ask for your aye vote. Thank you.
Very good. The bill has been moved by Senator Lara. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Motion is due pass and re-refer to appropriations. Hall?
Aye.
Hall, aye. Berryhill? Block? Aye. Block, aye. Gaines? Gaines, aye. Galgiani?
Aye.
Galgiani, aye. Glazer? Glazer, aye. Hernandez? Aye. Hernandez, aye. Hill? Aye. Hill, aye. Waso? Lara? Aye. Lara, aye. McGuire? Aye. McGuire, aye. Renner? Aye. Renner, aye. Vidak? 10-0.
All right, you have 10-0, and the bill's out. We'll keep the roll open.
Thank you all.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Great job.
Yes, Assemblywoman Burke, come on up. AB 522, item 8.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Senators. Assembly Bill 522 directs California Department of Technology to create and implement a standardized contractor performance assessment report system when awarding information technology contracts and projects. As we all are very aware, California, like many other states, has a long history of unsuccessful IT projects. As indicated in the recent state auditor report, between 1994 and 2013, the state terminated or suspended 7 IT projects after spending nearly $1 billion. Currently, the state has a number of IT projects under development that are reported to cost more than $4 billion. AB 522 will allow the state to evaluate how well a contractor performed on these IT projects by creating a contractor performance assessment reporting system. Caltech will create the performance assessment that will include but is not limited to an objective evaluation of the contractor, the type of contract, whether the contract was completed on time, and the number of contracts completed by that contractor. The data that is collected through the performance assessment on the contractor will then be taken into consideration in the evaluation and awarding of future state IT projects. Using this data will serve as a valuable tool to ensure vendor quality, but also to ensure that California has an accurate picture of the vendor it is entering into a contract with. I understand there are many factors that have contributed to our state's failed IT projects, and that is why I've also been working with the industry expert on Assembly Bill 805. This bill would have established a curriculum to train California procurement professional development, sustain and advance their competency and skills in complex IT projects. But unfortunately, this bill was held in Appropriations Committee. This is an issue that I am committed to continuing to work on to ensure that taxpayers' dollars are spent wisely and that we have products that work. With me today in support of the bill, Marty McCarty, CEO of Natoma Technologies.
Thank you. Yes, would you like to?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Measuring past performance has been a best practice in our industry for decades. The federal government's been doing it for over 20 years, very successfully with very mature processes and procedures, and we urge support of the bill.
Very good, thank you.
Mr. Chair, Chris McKaylee, on behalf of the Computing Technology Industry Association, we have a supportive amended position. We've been working diligently with the author and her staff. Three quick items that I would like to raise. One is a 30-day comment period after the final assessment, similar to an Auditor General report, which the author's office has indicated she's amenable to doing. The second is a periodic review throughout the project. Some of these projects are multi-year ones. And then lastly, we were hoping for some sort of a two-way evaluation, but we're still working with the author and her staff on that potential amendment. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. Any other witnesses in support? Witnesses in opposition? Comments, concerns, and readiness from the members? Mr. Vice Chair.
Yeah, what say you to these amendments?
Oh, yeah, actually, we just didn't get them done in time before here. We're taking actually the amendment to address the evaluations and 30-day response in appropriations if we are to make it out of this committee, and we already have them here.
Yeah, my concerns with this bill is like the case of the 21st Century Project. Many times it's not just the vendors, but it's the state plays a big role in this stuff crashing and burning.
Right, and and with permission from the chair, I would wholeheartedly agree, and we are working on parity for both the vendor and for the state. We're doing it in two separate bills, but we are working on both sides of this issue. It is an education issue partially as well on the part of the state procurement.
Where is that other bill now?
It's in appropriations. It's been held in appropriations.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. And it's AB 805 if you'd like to refer to it.
All right, any other comments, concerns, and readiness from the members? The bill's been properly moved by Mr. McGuire. Assemblywoman, would you like to close, or I can take that as your close? All right, Madam Secretary, call the roll.
Motion is due, pass, and re-refer to appropriations. Hall.
Aye.
Hall, aye. Berryhill. Block. Aye. Block, aye. Gaines. Aye. Gaines, aye. Galgiani. Aye. Galgiani, aye. Glazer. Aye. Glazer, aye. Hernandez. Hill. Aye. Hill, aye. Waso. Lara. Aye. Lara, aye. McGuire. Aye. McGuire, aye. Renner. Vidak. 8.
Okay, that bill is out. We'll keep the roll open for the absent members.
Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Hill moves the consent calendar. Please call the roll.
Consent calendar is items 7, 9, and 13. Hall.
Aye.
Hall, aye. Berryhill. Aye. Berryhill, aye. Block. Aye. Block, aye. Gaines. Galgiani. Aye. Galgiani, aye. Glazer. Glazer, aye. Gaines, aye. Hernandez. Hill. Aye. Hill, aye. Hueso. Lara. Aye. Lara, aye. McGuire. Aye. McGuire, aye. Renner. Aye. Renner, aye. Vidak. 10. Hueso, aye.
All right, that's 11-0 on the consent. The consent calendar is out. We'll go to item 6, AB 229, Assemblywoman Cheng. Just come forward. It's good to see you.
Good to see you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I'd like to first say that I'm happy to accept author's amendments as suggested by the chair to apply a 3-year sunset so that the legislature can come back and review the outcomes. And I'd also like to thank the chair for working so diligently with me. Absolutely. Members, this bill is about providing more options for our state employees, saving taxpayer dollars, and even protecting the environment. The sharing economy is becoming more ubiquitous and has become an integral part in the fabric of California's economy. And as the home and incubator of the sharing economy, California's laws should strive to be as innovative as the market itself. AB 229 will simply ensure state workers can continue to use peer-to-peer services on business trips. While there is currently no explicit prohibition on sharing economy services, and state employees do use these services, current law is silent on whether or not state workers can be reimbursed for using homes or ride-sharing companies during business trips. Last year, the University of California attempted to ban the use of peer-to-peer travel for their employees. The decision was met with a great deal of criticism, including from our own Lieutenant Governor, who called the decision bad for California taxpayers and at odds with the university's long and proud tradition of nurturing innovative technologies that have powered our economy. The UC has thankfully reversed that policy, and this bill is simply a proactive move to ensure California's public agencies are leading by example and embracing emerging technologies and progressive markets. These newer forms of travel come with unique advantages. They're often cheaper, which can lead to savings for taxpayers. Ride-sharing also provides a new opportunity to cut back on car emissions, as many of them have popular carpooling services which help remove cars from the road. That is why the NRDC supports AB 229. AB 229 has no opposition and moved out of the Assembly unanimously as a consent item. I respectfully request your support on this measure as well.
Thank you. And you have a witness to testify in favor?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Robert Callahan with the Internet Association here in support. I'll be brief. We think it makes sense to allow for this sort of opportunity for state employees. These are exciting new services that people are using and can provide greater choice and flexibility. Also appreciate the chair's suggestion for the 3-year sunset. I think that makes sense to review the policy and would urge your aye vote on the bill. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you for your testimony. Any other witnesses in support, please come forward.
Hi, Greg Hayes with KP Public Affairs on behalf of Airbnb in support of the bill.
Very good. Thank you. Any other witnesses in support? Any witnesses in opposition? Comments? Bill's been properly moved by Vice Chair. Please call the roll. What do you want to say?
I just want to share.
I'm teasing.
I just want to share a comment because there have been obviously a big glut of bills from this industry into this building this year. Just this industry 2 years ago was operating illegally, and the legislature felt compelled to authorize them through the PUC. I have some concerns about that because in California, all local transit, buses, taxis, anything that has a transportation element is planned and regulated locally, and there's a reason for that. This is an area where the locals in California have all the authority. It might not be the best model, but there's a reason for that. That's to regulate how transportation services could better be and most affordably provided. We decided here in this state to give an exemption to this industry so they can operate outside of that regulation from the local level, which creates a disruption in their ability to manage local transportation, because now these services can freely go anywhere in the state, and they're going to the most lucrative markets, which is where the conflict has lied in traditionally, and that has been a problem at trying to get people to reduce that conflict, reduce the enormous amount of competition that there is for one customer. You can have several people often resorting to violence to gain access to markets, and that's how local governments try to manage that, but also to provide services evenly throughout their region, so that people that are in low service areas can also have access to that transportation, and that often has created conflicts. The state has decided to enter that debate and disrupt all the work that's been done on the local level. And then we've seen this glut of bills come in this year to give competitive advantages to an industry that has already penetrated the market through a very unusual, well, I'll call it an unusual means. I'm for affordability. I'm for innovation. I want to make sure that we can get local governments to innovate their transportation services, but this is a local government issue. The state is coming in and starting to tell people, how to manage those services. This is a bill that is largely unnecessary, but it is setting a statement saying, the state of California is endorsing this mode of travel and encouraging this mode of travel over others, and what's not to say that people should use buses or any other mode of travel that is the most efficient. I don't think this bill is necessary. I'm kind of sad that we're having this debate, But what I want to do is being that there is growing popularity in this industry, and I think that's great, let's have the debate on how to make services more affordable without reducing consumer protections, because the whole purpose of regulating these industries is consumer protection, providing the best price for consumers, and providing the best environment for innovation in our state. And that's obviously, something happened that, allowed an industry to operate identical to the others in terms of the services providing, but outside of the regulatory framework of the local agencies that are trying to regulate that industry in a way that protects consumers and, of course, provides the most affordable prices and everything else. Unfortunately, I won't be supporting this bill today. I know there's been a glut of bills that everybody is asked to vote on in a subject that is extremely technical and nuanced. It is something that we should understand very clearly before we make a decision that's going to affect other businesses, other employees out there, other operators that will be affected negatively by this because they're caught in a different system, oftentimes without their own control. They're regulated locally. They're respecting the rules. They're respecting the laws. And I mean, we're going to see other people trying to see, well, they got a special exemption. They're getting special priority. I'm going to do the same. And I'm going to go to the legislature and ask to be removed from local control, to be giving special privileges, to reduce consumer protections. And that's a big problem. We're opening up a huge can of worms unnecessarily. I know we all want to advocate for innovation, and we want people in our state to have the best prices, but there are consequences to these actions we're taking, and they need to be clearly articulated, clearly defined. I don't think those have been presented here, unfortunately, and this is just another bill that gives an exemption to an industry that doesn't need it, and this bill is completely unnecessary. I'm not going to support it today, but I will be having an oversight hearing in the fall to discuss this transportation industry and how, the state's involvement has created a disruption in locals' ability to regulate their transportation services and needs. And we're working on that now, and we want to make sure that everything is on the table transparently, so members do know what they're voting on in the future when they entertain these bills. Thank you. I appreciate letting me. Thank you,
Mr. Chair. If I can just respond really briefly.
Sure.
This particular bill is encouraging parity, and it's not really an advantage. It's just giving employees a matter of choice, and I think. I agree with Mr. Way, so I'd love to work with you on these issues in the future, but, the focus on this particular bill is to encourage parity.
Any comment? You're good. All right. The bill is due pass, has a due pass recommendation, and I did, Senator, request a 3-year sunset on the bill so that we can come back and reevaluate and see how it's helped and be able to assess and make appropriate changes if necessary. So to your credit, we are being accountable with this piece of legislation by requiring it to come back to this body for assessment and review. All right, so it enjoys a due pass recommendation. And who's moving the bill? Mr. Glazier's moving the bill. Please call the roll.
Motion is due pass as amended and re-refer to appropriations. Hall?
Aye.
Hall, aye. Berryhill? Aye. Berryhill, aye. Block?
Aye.
Block, aye. Gaines? Gaines, aye. Galgiani?
Aye.
Galgiani, aye. Glazer? Aye. Glazer, aye. Hernandez? Hill? Hill, aye. Hueso? Lara? McGuire? McGuire, aye. Runner? Aye. Runner, aye. Vidak? 9 to 0. Right?
Okay, it's enough to get out. We'll hold the roll open for other members to add on.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Assemblywoman Bonilla, please come forward. Item 11, AB 706.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the committee.
It is still morning, 15 minutes left.
Today I present AB 706, which hopefully would increase science, technology, engineering, math, education for K-12 students and ultimately increase the STEM workforce. This would establish the ability within California volunteers to have a foundation that would fund a California STEM AmeriCorps. And I think the benefits of this as we roll out our next generation science standards, as we know that the workforce needs in STEM are rapidly increasing, is a way to take some of our science college graduates, put them immediately into a situation where they could help in classrooms, after school programs, and also partner with industry. So the hope here is that we would be able to encourage this activity within California volunteers. Really, this is a legislation that enables them to see if they can get this program off the ground. Hopefully that would work. And we believe that it would benefit not only business, our college graduates in the STEM fields, but also all the way down through K-12 as well. With me today, I have a representative from California Workforce Association to speak and support it.
Thank you, Assemblywoman. Yes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. My name is Nick Loretto-Mola, speaking on behalf of the California Workforce Association. There we go, thank you. A nonprofit that advocates for the business-led local workforce development system. CWA supports AB 706 because STEM programs foster new models for skill development and job readiness and prepare students to pursue in-demand 21st century careers. Business leaders across California are making STEM a top priority, but this is not a new discussion. Industry's been talking about a dearth of qualified employees in science, technology, engineering, and math for 6 decades. President Eisenhower actually gave the first speech by a major political figure that addressed STEM education needs. Elected officials have spent the next 6 decades since that speech lamenting the decline of STEM education and workforce preparation in America. CWA supports AB 706 because it is a concrete step forward for STEM education in California and provides an avenue for Californians of all backgrounds and barriers to employment to find their way to middle-class careers, and is a step towards supporting businesses who have been clamoring for a better prepared workforce for decades. We offer ourselves as a resource to the STEM AmeriCorps program as it develops to facilitate the identification of foundational skills necessary for career success in STEM industries, provide asset mapping of workforce needs, and leverage our partnerships to ensure the optimization of the STEM AmeriCorps program in California. I thank you for seeing this bill and humbly request your aye vote.
Very good, thank you. Any other witnesses in support, please come forward.
Hi, Shireen Walter with the California State PTA again, California Parent-Teacher Association. Just wanting to say that we support this as another avenue within STEM to help prepare our kids for a 21st century education. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. Witnesses in opposition? Seeing none, comments, concerns, and readiness from the members? Yes. Senator Glazer moves the bill. Yes, Mr. Gaines, comment?
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to thank Assemblymember Bonilla for bringing this forward. It sounds like the funding's through a nonprofit.
The funding would be through fundraising.
Yeah.
So it's just enabling really California Volunteers, which does all of our AmeriCorps, to specifically begin a foundation to raise money for, or their function, I should say, not necessarily foundation, their function to raise money for STEM AmeriCorps as a additional function of California Volunteers.
Wonderful. It's a great bill.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for bringing it
and
forward.
I think, too, that, you know, some industry doesn't want to have to create their own program.
Sure.
And this would allow them to partner with AmeriCorps and get into the schools and also get that young person into their business for those foundational work experience that young scientists could get specific to a workforce need.
That's great. Thank you.
All right. Senator Glazer moved the bill. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Motion is due pass and re-refer to appropriations. Hall.
Aye.
Hall, aye. Berryhill. Block. Aye. Block, aye. Gaines.
Aye.
Gaines, aye. Galgiani. Aye. Galgiani, aye. Glazer. Aye. Glazer, aye. Hernandez. Aye. Hernandez, aye. Hill. Hill, aye. Waso. Aye. Waso, aye. Laura. Aye. Laura, aye. McGuire. Aye. McGuire, aye. Runner. Aye. Runner, aye. Vidak. It's 11 currently.
Okay. That bill is out. We'll keep the roll open. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, where are we going first? We're going to start with item 1 to add on real quickly. Go right ahead while we have everyone here.